Okay. Y'all just let me know right now. Did y'all miss me? I'll wait. Yeah. I feel like the Dora the Explorer shows. Like, I missed y'all. This is so crazy. How is everyone? Really check in with yourself right now. Cool. Yeah. How you feeling? Is there any tension anywhere in your body? Is there any tension in your mind? I think this would be a great time to take a deep breath and release all the tension that you are holding. When you relax, do you feel vulnerable or do you feel secure? I don't really identify how I feel at full relaxation. I guess I feel more vulnerable to physical things, but my spiritual protection and like my vibe, that's the best way I could say it, feels so protected that like I trust that the physical things won't come and harm me. And I've been right. Like most of the time, I've never had a situation where like at peace, I've meditated, I'm like calm, I'm in prayer mode, and like something flies at my head or somebody tries to like attack me. Like I don't know. Most people also probably haven't, but those are the things that I like worry about whenever I think about like my physical safety. Genuinely, it's just people touching me. I don't like people to touch me. I don't know what that is. Like the other day I was at work and a lady like basically petted my ring. Like she was like, I love that ring, and like touched me. Like, even though she touched my ring and it's like super small, it's like the act of reaching your hand out with the intention to touch something that is not on your person, I feel like is so like vile. I feel like it is so vile. I think that people don't give those experiences enough credit. Like, I don't know. I was one of them kids that like, we go to the store, you better not touch nothing. So I think I keep my hands to myself. But I know that in a lot of vulnerable moments, I tend to feel like the only thing I'm worried about is somebody coming up and touching me. Like, oh my gosh. Like, sometimes in church, like when you grow up in church, it's like, oh, lay hands on them and pray. And I get it. I do. I do. But you got to warn me. You got to let me know something. Like, don't just touch me. Yeah. Anyway, I said that to say that I recently had an experience that had me contemplating my sense of security. But before I tell you about my recent experience, I'll tell you about a past experience. I know I mentioned before I had like this transformative period of my life around 2017, and it was a really big one for me. I had basically been pulled out of my environment. I really put myself in danger, so I kind of had to go somewhere where it was safe for me, and that was back home with my mom. And I kind of shed a lot of layers, and as time went by, I realized that I needed solitude, like complete and total solitude. I needed to reconfigure who it was that I was and what it was that I needed and how I was going to respond to the world around me. Like, I really needed to hone in and figure that out. So I cut off my friends, I cut off my family. Despite living with my mom, I cut off my mom and kind of just like really locked in with me. And one of my main things that I would say really my whole life, especially up to that point, was that I wanted to go home. And I have a location identified as home. I just knew everywhere I was not home. I did not feel connected. I did not feel grounded. And because of that, I really kind of was seeking within to figure out, how do I find home when there is no address? In doing that, I figured that home was a state of mind, and it was me being rooted in myself and having roots that I lay at my feet from my core that stretch down deep in me enough to where I am at home within myself. And so I get to a point where I'm comfortable in who I am and the direction I'm going in. I'm a little bit more comfortable making friends. I'm a little more comfortable taking on new people in my life, but I'm not holding anybody to anything. I'm not setting high expectations for anyone or anything like that. So it was a beautiful time. I was really able to manifest a lot during this time of like grounding and rerouting. I was really more into chakras than I am now. Like, I think all those spiritual aspects of the world have something in them of God. And that's really like how I am. Like, God, yes, indoctrination, not so much. So I felt drawn and connected to these experiences, getting my chakras together, really studying ancient religions and ideologies and how they could be applied to my life, how I could find ways to improve my life using a little bit of everything that was already here before me. And yeah, like the color red and really hitting them ohms. Okay. Like all of that stuff was like very aligned with that part of my life. As time moved on, I kind of grew away from the chakra meditations, but I did keep in mind the placement and the significance behind all of this kinds of things. So I am now in a situation where this past weekend I lost my phone turning up. And I guess I was partying too hardy because I don't know where that phone went. I looked for that phone for 2 hours. My phone is in Oklahoma and I stay in Texas. So I am like, okay. So the first day I was like, I am secure with myself. I said, this is perfect. My grandmother was really close to me and she recently passed. So her birthday happened to be on the same day that I lost my phone. And I was like, that's actually good because I don't think anybody in my family is going to reach out to me. And I really need time to kind of focus. So I spent time with my baby and my husband that day. And that was just that. And then they told me that I wouldn't get a phone for another day. So I said, okay, I went and took care of some stuff on Monday. Whatever. And was waiting on my phone to get in because I was hoping that if it got in, I could go to work or anything like that. Phone does not come in. So for the whole day, I'm kind of just like sitting on my hands, just waiting for something to happen. And I was able to kind of move at my own pace, get things done and be productive at my own pace without any extra distractions. So now I'm on like day 2 not having a phone. So phone doesn't come until day 3. What I did not realize about the experience was how much it is a shocker to your security and your sense of security. We went to a store and the baby was asleep in the car, and I come out of the store and I don't see our car anywhere, and I'm like not freaking out, but I don't want to just stand outside the store. Like I feel like that made me really vulnerable, and like my sense of security was kind of thrown off. Even though I have a basket and I paid for all my items and everything like that, just kind of standing out there with the basket didn't make me feel secure. It made me feel really insecure. And my husband, I'm walking up and down the aisles of this like parking lot, which is adding to my vulnerability and my sense of security. And I finally see his car and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I was perfectly fine without a phone until I could not reach you and I could not figure out where you were. So it made me frustrated just thinking of like a situation where I had to operate my entire life and with other people without a cell phone because we've had them for so long. There's no pay phones anywhere anymore. Like if there were, I would have used it. I promise you. I had a quarter in my purse, like I would have been fine. But we don't operate in a world where there are pay phones. We don't operate in a world where there are pagers. It is your phone and that's it. So it was just really hard that day. And now it really had me thinking about my sense of security. What makes me feel secure? And I realized how much in my life I've led and had make me feel insecure. You know what I mean? Like I've led a lot of my life with my insecurities and not the other way around. I've had a lot of situations where I know I don't identify myself or I don't resonate with certain positive aspects of myself that other people would. People will say, "Oh, you seem so confident," but I'm like super insecure, or "Oh, you're I don't even know." Like, oh, I'm not a compliment liker. Like, I do not like compliments. I don't like when people give me compliments, but people will give me a compliment that does not resonate with who I am or who I think that I am, my vision of myself, and that'll tend to make me shy away from a lot of things. And people are always really surprised. "Oh, you're so well spoken. How are you not confident?" Or, "You have a really agreeable personality. Why do you feel like people don't like you?" And to me, it's not about what other people see. It's how I see myself. And I don't see myself as confident because I don't see myself as secure. I don't see myself as friendly and agreeable because I see, "Hi, Miss Rodriguez. Is it the almost?" Because I see how much tension I bring in my relationships, or how many awkward interactions I've had, and how many friends I've lost. I've seen all I see is the darker sides of my experiences. I've made some beautiful relationships in comparison to how many I did not make. I don't know. The numbers, don't really align there, but I do hold that kind of stuff really heavy. I've had a lot of my life wasted by just reliving negative experiences with other people, like situations where I really gave my all and I thought I was doing my best, and people took that like I was not. People have cut me out of their lives very aggressively, very visibly. People are like, and I did not receive that rejection well. So when people give me any kind of like accolade on my social skills or anything like that, like at my job, they all always tell me, "Oh, you're so pleasant, and you're so flexible and really easygoing." And I'm like, "Y'all, like, what are you talking about? Like, all these people in the world hate me," which is so contradictory within itself, because I am the same person who says that 99% of the world is not going to like you. I understand that. I believe that wholeheartedly. You and your purpose in this world is to find your 1%, and you build with your 1%. Like, I think of all the greatest stories of all the greatest leaders in the world and the greatest people in the world, and they started with basically nothing but 1% of the people that out of their environment, out of their communities, that were willing to stand with them, that were willing to walk with them. And they were greater than the 1% that we think of when we think of like our country. Okay, they were greater than Wall Street. Like they were the wall, So I think stuff like that is amazing. So in the same breath that I'm like, okay, you search for your 1%, you do your best for your 1%. I'm still not at a space where I feel secure enough in my 1% all the time, where I feel secure being even a part of my 1%, where I don't know, like I've had groups of friends that I've built that I love and I care about them so deeply, and I still don't feel like they love me the same, or they're not connected with me the same, or they don't show up for me the same way I show up for them. And that's a hard experience because it really makes you question yourself. It really makes you doubt yourself. It makes you really insecure. I cannot be the only person with these experiences. Like, have you ever been friends with a group of girls, and when it's time for them to show up for you, okay, being friends with a group of girls is like super specific, a group of anyone. And when it's time for them to show up for you, it's like the feeling is like there's a separate group chat without you in it. Or you find out that there's a separate group chat without you in it, like stuff like that. Like, oh my gosh, y'all. Like, the memory that pops up in my head is like these girls, and I really cared about them and I really loved them and I really wanted like to build a relationship with all of them. But I knew that they already had a pre-existing friendship prior to me. And I'll never forget when I really needed them the most. They posted on all the social media, every social media, about how no new friends. And the song had just came out, like the Drake No New Friends just came out. And I was like, oh wow, like it killed me. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, oh my goodness. And this is before I met my people that I have like now. And I was just like distraught. Like, oh, y'all, it was so sad. Like that version of Cydne was really, really sad as is. And like, I just needed them to be understanding and show it with me, and they couldn't. And it killed me so bad. Like now I'm at a point where I'm more like defensive and I'm more hardened up about stuff like that. Like I won't put people at that high of a standard or give them that much to go off of with me, but or like to kind of control how I handle a situation. Like they don't have that type of power at all. And it would take moving a mountain in my life for me to put them there. But then that version of me, that could have broke me. Like I felt like I was incapacitated. Like I to this day, not only do I not interact with them, but people that I know associated with them, I've also cut off. People who did nothing to me, but just because I know that you were close enough to them, I'm like, no. And to me, that is still a sign of my vulnerability and my insecurity in myself. Because the person I am today, not only does she not give a damn, but like couldn't give a fuck if I tried. Like I don't have it in me. Like there's just nothing about them. I think it was more of the symbolism in that situation of you gave your all and no one wanted it. No one cared about it. And honestly, the lesson for me in that is that I'm still surviving. I'm still standing. Like remember in the one episode and I was talking about, oh, like, whoop Payne's ass and like, ain't nothing that ever tried to take me out ever did it. Like, that's how I feel. Like, that shit really like pissed me off and it still did not take me out. Not only was I able to show up for myself, not only have I gotten to where I am now, shit, like the life I live, the numbers I see in my bank account, like, baby, I know they're not touching. Like, I just know you're not touching that shit. Like, I'm not no Instagram girly for real, and some of them are, and I just be like, damn, I would hate to look like that and still be broke. I would hate to look like that and still have nobody to come home to. I would hate to look like that and never experience the love that I've experienced with my baby. I think about that so often that like if I'm secure in anything, it's how much I love that little girl and how much I know she loves me. Like it's beautiful. This is not me advocating for anybody to go out there and have a baby. Please don't, y'all. But man, like that sucks. Like I'm living La Vida Loca over here, okay? Like I'm having a great time learning about myself, growing deeper with myself, building a family, building a legacy, building businesses, building opportunities, building opportunities. Oh my freak. That is it right there. I'm not waiting on them to knock on any doors. I'm not taking the first one that comes in my face. I'm just going to make one. If it's not my opportunity, it was someone else's opportunity. And with that, it's still mine to find the good in, to see hope in that opportunity, So it's like I'm A-okay. I'm perfectly fine. And because I know that I'm building, I'm creating, I am ever evolving, I'm forwardly expanding. I'm consistently pushing through, And that's a big one. Another thing when it comes to security, I think, is that I am also like super insecure in my sexuality. I identify as asexual. I've never really had a strong connection to or desire for sex. Like if I do, typically it's some other stuff going on in my life. Like I've had like moments, I'll have like bursts, but it's not like consistently like, dang, I ain't had no dick in a while. Like I'm not that type of person. Most of the time, like I am like a huge Megan Thee Stallion fan, but if some of her songs like be so explicit, I'd be like, Meg, please chill out. Like, ooh, girl. And that's a lot for me too. But that's just like that for me. So I've always been kind of insecure in my sexuality. Like before I got with my husband, I was really concerned in relationships about trusting how far they could go because I was not going to be actively looking for sex. A lot of times I would do that with the person I was interested in as a means to like get closer with them, but they would end up being closer to me than I was with them. I wasn't really invested. I wasn't really involved, like mentally or emotionally, I guess. Just kind of like going through the motions. Like my head is never really in it. I'm never really craving it. Like maybe like 3 days before my cycle comes, but not even like all the time. Like I could genuinely live a life with a shower head and I would be fine. And I know that's like super abnormal for people. People would like look at me crazy when I say stuff like that, but I'm very serious. Like that's not key to me. I used to think that I was a, what do you call it? Like a demisexual, whatever. The people, sapiosexual, I don't know. The people who need to build a connection or need to, or like are sexually attracted by intellect or anything like that. But those things still kind of have to align with what it is want and need in that moment or out of that person. So, or like the things that I'm attracted to in that person. I will have 500 things. Like you could be physically attractive, but you got something going on with your teeth that show me you ain't been to the dentist in a minute. You could be super smart, but you have an opinion on a certain topic that like I just can't vibe with. And that will throw the whole sexual vibe off. Problem with that is I've always been super like introspective and I'm really interested by people. I saw somebody post something that was like, what is it, like a aromantic pansexual or something like that. And it was like really fucking into people, not really into fucking people. Like that's it. Like I'm really interested in people. So people would always mistake my curiosity and my conversational like demeanor for interest or sexual interest and desire. And that's not me. So I've been sexually assaulted a lot. Trigger warning. I guess I should have said that first. I've been sexually assaulted a lot, especially during college. I was taken advantage of a lot, or I would be put in very uncomfortable situations. And for the longest, I was not only insecure about those experiences because I really didn't want to see the effects of blowing the whistle and calling people out. I've seen people blackball my friends and like ostracize my friends from situations. And instead of making me more empowered to go and like speak up about my own experiences, I was really insecure about those. And it's always been behind my own safety and my security. I've heard too many horror stories of women denying men that ended up in their death or in their abuse or in some sort of like traumatic experience. Shoot, worse, a pregnancy. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, honestly, I would rather you kill me than get me pregnant because now I owe this child the world and I did not ask for this child. It's like, what? Okay. So, but yeah, so like stuff like that has always made me like super insecure as well. Hyper aware of how I present myself because I don't want anyone to get the wrong impression and then I don't want to have to defend myself if they do. The fact that I'm talking about, I was not planning on mentioning this, but it is something that really has a lot to do with my sense of security. I had a situation where, I don't want to say where because I don't want to get anyone in trouble, where someone violating my person while I was somewhere that has legal protections for them to do so. And I didn't say anything because of their connection with other people in that space or how I would be perceived or any kind of like investigation or hold that would have to happen. I didn't want to see any of that go down. So I chose to not say anything. And then when it mattered, and I felt more empowered, like to kind of just say it, like I was kind of brushing it off, like, oh, it's fine. Because I never felt like I was in danger. I never felt like I was, like my safety was going to be threatened or anything like that. But it wasn't about that. It's about the respect that people have to have for your person and for your existence. And I was not I was not really prepared to move forward in protecting myself, which would only perpetuate my insecure and my vulnerable feelings and opinions about myself. So yeah, that was a hard experience to have because I had pushed it off and I pushed it back so bad in comparison to the other experiences I've had. Yeah, like that's hard. That's yeah, it's a lot. I've never really spoken to anyone about this. I remember telling my mom, and the moment that I told my mom wasn't really the safest or the best to tell her. And my mother's a beautiful woman. She's gone through so much in her life. So naturally, a lot of times she needs support that I can't or I couldn't offer her. And I remember telling her, and she told her boyfriend. Her boyfriend came back and told me something that like kind of pissed me off. So I was like, dang, I can't tell my mama. I wasn't even trying to tell my mama. When I told my mama, like I couldn't like lean in there. So like it just led to me kind of like shutting down and being really quiet about these things and being really matter of fact about them. Like, yes, this happened. I don't ask for it. Like whatever. Like I didn't really care. If anything, kind of frustrated me to have to speak about it because I wasn't going to do nothing and I didn't need anybody else doing nothing. So if I ever had a situation where I had to talk about it, it was just like, okay, but like, don't get shit twisted. Like, you better not go nowhere and make no situation out of this. I'm going to deny it. Like, I want to make sure people know. And, and I think that led to a lot of the same perpetual thoughts of like, I'm not confident and I'm not a lot of things, to be honest. Because I feel like if I was as much of like a boss bitch as people like to paint me to be, that I would have stood up for myself. I'd have let other people advocate for me. I would have really built my 1% around protecting me because I would do that for them. I would totally do that for them. I would do that for any and every one of my people that have ever experienced that. In fact, I have. And I just, I didn't realize how much those experiences really shaped the narrative I kind of created for myself. People couldn't really tell what type of person I was, but internally, I'm like denying everything that is that they see of me because of everything I know about me. And it's not to say that those two things can't be true at the same time. So I'm rebuilding my sense of security in no, you have not always been confident all the time. Hi, good morning, Miss Nunez. Hello. I'm good. How are you?
Just wanted to come take
Oh, yeah.
some of it.
That I can be confident. I can be amicable. I can be friendly. I can be pleasant. And I can have hard days and experiences where I don't show up like that. And times where I'm not performing at 100% and those times can be back to back. Those times can be weeks. Those times can be months. That can be a whole year of my life. And that still won't define me enough to where I cannot keep pushing forward, where I cannot continue to present myself as confident and open and receptive and secure. Because I've realized that the women and the situations that really get abused the hardest, that whenever they talk to sex offenders and predators for women, children, whatever have you, they always prey on insecure people and situations that also seem insecure. If you're in a group of people and it seems like you could be pulled away from the situation, because most of the time they're not taking people by force. It's some sort of persuasion, like a little bait, and then they take it. It might be a warming up conversation, and then they kind of show their colors when they see that you took the bait. So, like, I guess fearful in the world of how people are these days, most of the time I overpresent like and overcompensate my confidence so that way people don't think they can take it that far. Like to the point to where like even in the grocery store, like a man will say something to me and like I walk away hard and fierce with my chest poked out, my head held high, just so that way like please don't try me. Like, it's really my personal, like, fear tactic and defense mechanism. Even though I'm super insecure, I'm really scared in these moments. I present differently. And this is the first time I think I'm saying out loud that, like, I am, I'm okay with how I present myself. I do feel like I've felt in the past that me presenting with so much security and so much, like, so much force and so much, like, being bold and being, like, open like that, I think it has intimidated people from wanting to interact with me. It has shied people away. It has made people kind of come up with their own narrative about me. And I used to be afraid of those too. But realistically, like, I am a small fish in a big pond just trying to make it through the water. Like, I'm not trying to go against the current. I am just trying to protect myself. So whatever way the river flows, like, I'm going with it, but I just can't let myself get smacked up against no rocks. I can't let myself get eaten by nobody else, by a bigger fish. I can't let myself get taken about the water. I do have to take care of myself and preserve myself at all costs. And I truly believe that my 1% will find me, and we will build this beautiful village and walk into the sunset happily ever after on family compound like the white girls. Okay, like, I really do believe all of these things for myself, and I want everyone who has an opportunity to kind of walk with me on my journey to also feel these things within themselves. It's a hard knock life, man. Like, and I cannot keep making up excuses for why I feel like people mistreat me and abuse me, why I abuse myself, why I talk about myself bad, why I beat myself up so hard. I'm really coming into that. Like, back to the phone thing, like, when I lost my phone, I just know that me a year ago, me 2 years ago, would me prior to all of that would have been like, oh my gosh, you super bitch. Like, you lost your phone. You're so dumb. Nobody else loses their phone this much. Nobody else is like this. Like, that's so annoying that you held up your group for 2 hours looking for a cell phone. Why don't you have your phone? Why does everybody have their phone but you? Like, I could have gone in and I would have been crying. I would have been depressed. I wouldn't have wanted to go hang out with those people anymore. I would have been embarrassed. And I was really at peace, and I was really comfortable with, like, hey, I know that I tend to lose things. I've left my wallet at a grocery store and somebody came back and drove to the house and brought me my wallet while I'm unpacking the groceries out the car. Didn't even know I left my wallet at the grocery store. I know the type of person I am. I know that, like, I will set myself up for greatness and still kind of forget about the setup. I will tell the whole plan and I'll still need someone to write it down for me. I really genuinely probably need an assistant. This is probably why I crave and desire a 1% so bad, but that's who I am. And not only did I know that I was this type of person, I prepared for it. I had insurance on my phone. I could have paid $800 for a new phone and $800 to pay my phone off so that way I could get the new phone. But instead, I had insurance and only had to pay like $200 or $300 to get a replacement. It's still a lot of money. It's still something I wouldn't have had to do if I would have had my phone in the first place. But am I really going to beat myself up over something that, like, clearly I didn't do on purpose to myself? I didn't create this on purpose to myself. I'm telling you, catch me in 2020, 2021, like, in mistakes like that would have, like, destroyed my confidence and my sense of self for the rest of the month, or the rest of the year, for longer than that. And I'm not there anymore. And I'm really proud of myself for being not there anymore. But that lack of security, the feeling like I'm super vulnerable and anybody can hurt me right now is so real. I feel like I don't have time to shut down and to shut myself down and to make it worse. Cause something could still happen. Even though ain't nobody ever came and threw a rock at my head while I was meditating, like, if I sit here and I, instead of meditating, was crying with my head in my hands, someone could do the same thing and I'm not even worried about it because I'm so worried about being upset. as opposed to worrying about my protection and making sure that like my divinity is intact and that I'm connected fully to source all the time, every time I make a choice, every time I do anything, every time I think about anything, anytime I have a negative experience. This is so personal to like my life and my experiences. I never really know what to say to kind of like tie it all together, to tie everyone else in, because I know that I'm not doing this by myself. I know I'm not on this journey and having people listen to it by myself. But yeah, this is me. So if anything resonates, please let me know that I'm not just speaking into the abyss, but I've never framed my sense of security. I've never really put it all together. This journey, talking out loud to myself, recording it, putting it out for the world to be able to kind of like tap in whenever, is my step towards getting better. Yeah. I don't think I've ever had an episode this long. So thanks so much, y'all, for being a part of everything always. It's okay to not be okay every day, especially. But always check in with yourself, you know? Give yourself grace and hold space. I don't think I say that the other way around, but same rules apply. Until next time, take care.